So I would hope that we would know.
And we get the task force updates from the minutes from the others. So, yeah, I haven't seen anything in any of the other grade
Because work
reconfiguration
is currently being done, you know, and there still are decisions to be made, and so they will be brought to the board for sure. You know, especially, I mean, for curriculum, that's one of our major roles. But again, I think it sounds to me, if I'm understanding correctly, that the board is affirming that there's no reason for any further study to go into any work of any other grade reconfiguration task force. Am I correct in understanding that?
Any task force.
Or any task force, okay. Thank you for that clarification. There was another question posed last board
I do
meeting.
want to clarify, I started asking those questions 9 months ago, so.
Yeah, which,
Just
thank you for.
clarifying that again.
Yeah, no, which is, you know, and again, it is a difficult challenge, you know, how can, since this is the place where we have to do our work in a public meeting, how do we post questions without some unintended ramifications happening from those musings? And so that was a piece that I thought it was not my understanding that that was where the board was going. I just thought it would be helpful for everyone if we just clarified that. Lastly, there was a question about implementation discussed at the last board meeting. And since, you know, typically how the board operates, obviously it different matters, there's different histories, different circumstances, but once we make a decision like this, in terms of the board's role in implementation of the decision, we still have the open question of math, which we've noted, and we still need a clarification as that is now built. The task force will be moving on to discuss that. But again, this question of structuring, of implementation was something that typically the board hasn't discussed on the dais in terms of any detailed levels besides setting guiding. So I'm trying to, again, circle back to that question that was put forth by the board and see if that's anything we need to take action on or further discuss, or if that was something that, again, was part of just the organic conversation.
Yeah, so I think the answer to that is in policy 1 on course design 2020. And the deputy superintendent had provided additional background in the materials that were provided to the board that was very, very helpful. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. And so according to that, the course design, that really is a superintendent issue. So once we have made this policy decision that we have made, then that goes back to the superintendent. That had been updated. So I was incorrect or not interpreting the policy correctly when I had said, okay, here's this. It just clearly states the superintendent designate will establish procedures for course design. So I think the implementation work, as the principals had helped us realize, and the superintendent and the staff, that's really, you know, the policy choice was ours, the implementation work, and they know they have a lot of work to do, and hopefully there's clarification they could ask for that, but I think it's really part of the many items that they're doing and the work that they have, but I don't think it's really ours. So that was just a misunderstanding on my part.
Okay, and I think that clarification is very helpful, so thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Any other questions on the board regarding implementation before I move on? Okay, excellent. So unless anyone has...
Thank you for looping back on that. I think that does help a lot.
So if there's no other discussion, I'm going to move forward on the agenda.
What about the math? Is this
So
something
the
that we'll
math-
talk about the next board meeting?
Well,
or
I think...
maybe you guys want to give us, it sounds like there's not an update to give, so I'm not.
So Heather,
Timeline.
would I be, so what would be the next time the task force would convene to even discuss schedule for talking about math? So is it because at the end of the year, what kind of timeframe should we expect as a board for those conversations to pick back up?
Well, first I think I'll get clarification and work with Larry and Carolyn on what process to utilize in discussing the math.
Okay.
That's kind of the next step. And we weren't going to really begin that work until maybe August. And so really we've just been waiting for this piece to get through, and then I need to figure out what the process would be that you utilize for the math, and then we will move forward with creating a process.
Let us give it some thought, and we'll put some thoughts down in the next few weeks here.
Can we get, would we be able to get updated on that process in, like, by end of June or something?
Well, at the end of the year, is the time, I mean, be honest, at the end of the year with everything going on, I mean, will you be meeting, will the task force be meeting, or?
The task force, we'll have one more meeting, but we won't be focusing on what it looks like for math. We'll need to do internally and have some discussions about what process we want to utilize, because it is a course, it's course design, it's curriculum, and that's too detailed, at a detailed level for the task force, so we need to figure out steps for that. It's just like the science model, we're working on the science model, and that's been through a separate team of teachers and administrators and staff that have been working on that.
You know, just clarifying, Heather, so when you talk about science, does that have to do with course design because of next generation science standards coming? It's independent of the question here.
And,
Okay.
and having a sixth grade science course taught by a science teacher, that's brand new.
Yeah, that's a helpful
And then you have to
clarification.
shift your courses, who's doing physical science to life.
Thank you, that's very helpful, thank you. Any other questions before we move along with the agenda? Okay, then. The next item on the agenda is an information review for the utility easement for Woodinville High School. Are there any questions or thoughts for this by the board? Anyone?
This is why they're all still here. Easement section.
Easement. It's a tricky one. The water district, okay. Seeing none, I'm going to move on to policy review. So this is the, next item on the agenda is the first reading of board policies number 8122, bus maintenance, 8123, student conduct on buses, and 8362, voice communication systems.
So we talked a little bit about this today, but just the student conduct on buses, how is that going to connect with our newly redesigned rights and responsibilities?
That's a good question. I don't believe it's incorporated within that.
This will be separate?
Yeah. I don't have that copy of the proposed R&Rs in front of me.
And we will be looking at the newly constructed rights and responsibilities next
They'll be
meeting?
coming to you in June. Yeah.
That's
Should be
next
first,
meeting?
I believe it should be first reading on June 7th.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'll double check on the bus conduct and get back.
Thanks.
Other questions on these policies? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the first reading of board policy numbers 8330, staff insurance, 8332, workers' compensation, and 8334, medical insurance. Another group from the 800 series and the 8000 series. Any questions from the board? Information on these policies. All right, seeing none, I'm going to move along to the next item on the agenda, which is the first reading of board policy number 8600, utility management. Questions from the board? All right, no proposed changes. All right. Then I'm going to move along to the next item on the agenda, which is new business. Are there any new business topics from board members? From Director Smith? Yes, from Director DeAngelo.
So with our grandfathered, we heard from a community member, and I've actually been hearing this from other community members too. So typically Bear Creek and East Ridge, or the East Side schools, were open. And then maybe you can help me with this, Larry, we grandfathered certain families into there before a certain time, and now the siblings aren't able to go to that school that the other kids are grandfathered into. Is there a policy, I mean, maybe explain that a little bit for me.
So
It doesn't make sense.
So prior to, I'll get the years wrong, about 5 years ago, once you were approved for a waiver, your waiver allowed you to continue all the way up through the feeder pattern. So if you were approved for a waiver in first grade, you essentially could follow the feeder pattern all the way up through 12th grade, so out of your attendance area. We then, because of growing capacity concerns, revised that to make the waivers only good through the level. And that was probably 3 or 4 years ago. So you were approved at elementary in first grade, then you had to reapply if you wanted to continue in the feeder pattern when you moved from elementary to junior high. And then a couple of years ago, with pending boundary adjustments, continued enrollment growth, and not knowing all of the impacts of that, we moved to what is traditionally more standard in districts, which any waivers are a year-to-year space available basis. So yes, there's families that potentially, based on the age of their children, have children who may be caught in 2 different sets of rules because we're honoring rules for everybody based on when their waiver was originally approved. So in that process, I think we do try and be sensitive to and prioritize the challenges of families with siblings who are in special programs, but oftentimes those decisions might have to wait until perhaps late in the summer when neighborhood enrollment is known, because that's the first priority for the school, is to be able to serve the kids who actually live in the service area. So I can't say, particularly for the person who spoke tonight, that they would never be, won't be approved for a waiver at some point, but it could be that it might be later in the game when we actually know how many students we're trying to serve at that particular grade level.
We're not grandfathering any other students, is that correct? Like, we don't if you get a waiver now, you don't get a grandfather anymore?
If your first time waiver application was this year or last year, those are you have to renew those annually. Yeah, and that's a new process for us. So again, we have sort of 3 sets of rules that are phasing their way through the system.
And there's no way with the grandfathered, people that are already grandfathered to have their siblings at the same school. You said that just needs to be, I'm sorry, we're all getting so tired.
I wouldn't say that there's no way, but it's likely to be a later decision after we know what the neighborhood enrollment is going to be. If the school has capacity, that school would be open for waiver requests right now. So the schools that are closed are schools that are either at capacity or we have strong concerns are going to be at capacity by next fall. So really until we know the enrollment of kids who live within the service area that we're obligated to serve at that school, is going to be difficult perhaps to make decisions on siblings or other such exceptions that would apply. Yeah.
Any other new business topics? All right, so the next item on the agenda is superintendent search update. So this Friday is when the posting will be closed. I don't have much of an update beyond that, though. We will get an update early next week after Memorial Day. We'll be closing Friday. Any questions about? This will be June. Okay, so next I'm going to move on then to the next item on the agenda, which is end of year priorities. So questions there in terms of how things are going from board members, any idea or any questions, thoughts?
Well, check 2 off the list for tonight.
We did. So there you go.
I was just going to ask Superintendent Francois, if you get more information about the equity and diversity meeting, you just let us know.
I certainly will, yeah. I believe it's tentatively, the last I heard was tentatively scheduled for June 11th, but I haven't received confirmation, but I certainly will need it.
That is actually one question I had. When are we getting the results of the focus groups and getting an update on what our action plan is moving forward with the equity diversity? Like the actual presentation of what we're doing.
So I think we
It's been
have,
a year now.
do we have now all of the data briefs finalized?
So you have 2 already.
Right.
And 3 more coming in this week. And the website has been created, and Leanna and Karen and I we are updating it because of the new briefs coming in. We did receive the final copies of all
actually had some time at today's conference to talk a little bit about next steps and planning, and we'll hopefully have more time with the team tomorrow to continue that conversation.
So we will be getting like an action plan.
And there's a memo, actually, that I grabbed a copy of you from today. So we started, there are some ideas that Carolyn and Larry have been talking about. Yeah, now's the good opportunity.
Okay, and my concern is only that this was a year ago that we had families in here, so, but
It's always good to keep it front
I
of mind.
should.
We were hoping to have a study session in June also to focus on equity. It's not going to come together with everything else on the plate, so, but tomorrow we'll continue to work as a board on that. So any other questions on any of your priorities? Okay, then I'm going to move on the agenda to member reports. First up, do you have anything to report?
Sure. I'd like to comment on Thursday, the May 12th. Went to the North Shore Schools Foundation meeting. They sponsored the SAS music program at McMinnivan's, and that was a wonderful program that they're sponsoring, so I thank the Schools Foundation for that. They're also running the Milk Money campaign. If anybody sees those milk bottles around at your local businesses, please donate generously. That money goes right back into grants for North Shore students. On Monday, with Superintendent Francois, I went to the Love Live concert at Skyview Junior High. Compliment Bernadette Bascom for her work to bring together our students and perform musically on stage with some musical stars. It's really a treat. And thank you to the Principal Mark, choir director, Miss Newhall, and the Skyview paraeducators that made that such a successful concert. Also, would like to mention the College and Career Readiness Dinner on Wednesday, May 18th. Congratulations to Mr. McHugh in the Automotive Technology class. They got the electric car world record for their wattage, and that was really cool. We got to see the video, and the car was parked outside, so that was really a treat. Thursday, the 19th, we attended the North Shore Scholarship Foundation 32nd Annual Breakfast. Congratulations to all the North Shore seniors who earned scholarships. And congratulations to Superintendent Francois on his service award. And that evening was the SAS music concert. That was really an amazing experience. It was really fun for the SAS students to return to their former school grounds that is now McMinnivan's. They put on a great rock and roll concert, and I'll do it again next year, so definitely come see that. And then on Saturday, Health Point Clinic did a 5K that raised money for North Shore Schools Foundation. That was a great event. We had some students from North Shore Junior High that did a gourmet cooking and gourmet milk pairing. And so when the kids and families were done running, they got to try the different milk and cookies, and it was really good. So thanks to them.
So there's some overlap. I attended the North Shore Performing Arts group, I can't remember what the acronym meant, had a fundraiser at McMinnivan's, so half the proceeds, and attended that last week. They're kind of trying to reinvent themselves, but they've got their concert series up and some of those programs coming this fall. And then also attended scholarship breakfast. Again, I'll just echo the congratulations to students and Superintendent Francois for their awards. Attended one of the Start Time Task Force open houses last week. Not hugely well attended, but trying to learn from past mistakes. I just want to say that they have done amazing work. They've got 3 options that they have done really some very good thoughts around the pros and cons, and I just want to certainly thank the time and effort that they're putting into this, and effort of trying to make sure the community is aware of what's going on and what's in front of them. And then last night I attended the booster training on Patsy Trees organized it. It was presented by the head of the Washington State Booster Association, and that's relatively new, but if you haven't entered the world of booster clubs yet, kind of the Wild West out there, but the times are changing, and so it was good to get that started in our district. In a couple of years, the intention for there to be actually requirements and things that you have to follow and checklists and so forth. So it was good that we got started with that, was very well attended, the room was packed. And then started our equity work today.
So, the equity conference today, it's interesting, we have all this work and then half the board, 2/3 of the board spending 2 full days doing additional work. And so we did the board retreat, and that was a really fabulous time to, I think, one of us used the words, wasn't me, covenant with each other and for each other, and I really appreciate each one of you. And I think that it's hard work, and we're doing well to keep that. I appreciate each of you. The scholarship breakfast was spectacular, and the award that the superintendent received is, it's kind of like lifetime fellow, and it's really quite amazing. And I'm continually impressed by the amount of stress that is placed on a superintendent, and even some of the discussion from the issue at Arrowhead that had to be dealt with. And so I really appreciate what you are doing for the district, and especially in these final time and first mid transmission. So that was part of my member report, is to getting a better appreciation, continuing that, and the conversation with the board, and that was useful. We had some good additional, and the Sergeant Task Force echo what Director Hay said. So everyone's doing a lot of work, and we're working well together.
So also was at some wonderful events. Oh my gosh. No, mine's open. I'm supposed to go.
I
Keep it
know,
going.
because I'm I attended with Sandy Hayes. We went with Luis Moscoso and Rosemary McCullough. Fundraiser and the Judge of Ball. That was fun. And then field trip today to Olympia. I mean, I just feel like every day we're doing something for the district. I can't. Meeting with community members, so.
Just for the introduction. So sorry for the introduction now. It was, I also wanted to follow up on, again, I was at the Career and College Readiness, and also, conversations with the board was awesome. And I just wanted to say two quick things to finish this meeting. The North Shore Scholarship Breakfast, that was the first time I was able to attend, because it is difficult for me. I live at the opposite corner, getting there early is tricky. I'm glad I was able to, because it was an honor to witness, Larry, your award. I'm glad I was there for that. It was great to see your work acknowledged. And just one last musing, we do a lot of work as a board, but I'm very happy to do it. I've moved around, not as often as some. I actually spent elementary and middle school and high school in 3 different states. I've witnessed a lot of school districts, a lot of communities, and I'm continue to be awestruck, and the scholarship breakfast was just an example of how this community bands together and what happens when it does. And it's something that I feel blessed that my children are able to experience from birth. And so I just want to thank everyone for everyone's hard work and for being a place that I'm really proud to serve. That's the end of my report. So next, for the board, I have a couple organizational notes. So the next coordination meeting is June 1st. If anyone has time to attend with Larry and I, right now it's scheduled for 8:30. Feel free to get to me if you want to, as it's getting late, if you want to check schedules. But if anyone's able to attend the coordination meeting on the 1st, that would be great.
Flexibility on time.
Question.
On the 30,
1st of June. I could do like a 1 o'clock or a 12:30.
that's
First?
on the 1st.
June
Yes.
1st.
Any earlier?
I could do 11.
Make it work.
11, yeah, I'd have to, Leanne and I would need to reschedule, but
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of other comments.
Okay, really quickly, guys, before we finish this, so just to help you guys organize in the board briefing, Cindy, and all the events coming up in June, Cindy has asterisked the name of the board member who has committed to speaking at the event, just to help us track our to-dos for June. Also, you should have received, Cindy wanted to make you know, you should have received registration and hotel confirmation emails for WASDA in November in Spokane. So if you need any changes, the hotel was the first thing she got on in registration as well. And as soon as you're ready to make flight arrangements, it's, I know from experience going to Spokane, the quicker you can figure out your days, the better the rates. So that is it. So we have a lot of paperwork to sign here apparently. But if the board is good, I'm going to adjourn. Are we good?
Yes.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.